and say we want to volunteer for this, we have to make the community clean, even if the government are not doing anything. This is my advice to you all. You can take 2 or more 3 people, clean up your community so that it will not affect our health. And this is what we have to do daily to prevent our health.
World Clean Up Day is more than just an event. It's a reminder that the planet is our shared home. The real task is not just cleaning once a year, but building a lasting culture of responsibility and sustainability. Victoria Ogbaki for Voice of the People TV.
It begins with every one of us. This is our environment, this is our town, this is our community. And the most important thing is that we have to get our environment clean. Earth is wealth.
VOP TV. Now, you have more than a voice.
In a world where power shifts with every headlines, news breaks and events happens, we bring you unbiased and explicit information on politics, economy and state of the nation. We break down the chaos. Facts, not fluff. Truth, not spin. We discuss not just politics, but a glimpse into the future. Voice of the People Television. Now you have more than a voice.
Do you want your voice to be heard? Do you know that you matter in the scheme of things? The People's Voice, the show where ordinary citizens take center stage as we discuss the biggest stories that affect you and I. With you in mind, we facilitate lively discussions, debates, and interviews on the topics that matter.
Well, hello and welcome to News Hour on Voice of the People TV. I am Vivian Oguche.
And I am Nenna Ndomdioto. Before we begin, kindly visit our website www.vop.ng for fresh and trending news. First, the headlines. Nigeria unveils house in Davos ahead WEF 2026.
The federal government cuts Trade Ministry's budget by 22.92% amid investment gains.
Federal government restates reserve to empower military over national crisis.
OT urges officers serving in home states to boost security.
INEC insists on rewriting history with free, fair elections.
And court stops resident doctors' planned strike.
On the foreign scene, Pope Leo wants conflict mongers returning war to vogue.
Well, in business news, shipping firms and airlines to submit manifest via national window.
In sport, Abu gets provisional right for 2028 Nuga hosting.
And in entertainment news, Afrima president lists focus as welcome party holds in Lagos.
Now the news and details. The federal government has unveiled a national platform that will debut during the 56th annual meeting of the World Economic Forum, WEF, slated for Davos from January 19 to 23, 2026. Named the Nigeria House Davos and unveiled ahead of the Global Economic Gathering, the initiative marks Nigeria's first official national house on the Davos promenade and signals a strategic step in projecting the country's economic reforms, investment readiness, institutional capacity, and cultural identity on the world stage. In a statement, the State House Director of Information and Public Relations, Abiodun Oladunjoye, said the Nigerian House Davos is designed to strengthen foreign direct investment inflows, deepen strategic partnerships, and reinforce Nigeria's global economic positioning. According to the presidency, the platform reflects a deliberate shift in Nigeria's engagement with the international economic community, enabling the country to present its reform narrative directly to global leaders, investors, and policymakers, rather than through third-party lenses.
Well, still on trade, the federal government has slashed the 2026 budget of the Federal Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment by 22.92%. Coming in spite of the rising investment inflows and renewed trade momentum The move reflects a sustained fiscal tightening and a rebalancing of capital priorities across ministries. According to figures in the 2026 appropriation bill, the ministry's total allocation for 2026 was reduced from 110.07 billion naira in 2025 and 126.57 billion naira in 2024 to 87.44 billion naira in 2026. Capital expenditure in the 2026 budget also recorded a sharp contraction, falling to 55.40 billion naira from the 79.14 billion naira in 2025. However, personnel costs rose slightly from 25.63 billion naira in 2025 to 26.44 billion naira in 2026, while overhead expenditure also increased marginally from 5.30 billion naira in 2025 to 5.60 billion naira in 2026.
Ahead of the 2026 Armed Forces Celebration and Remembrance Day, the federal government has reaffirmed its resolve to empower the Nigerian Armed Forces to overcome the nation's security challenges. Nigeria sets aside January 15 every year to honor its serving personnel and remember the fallen heroes. Giving the assurance during a special Jumat prayer at the National Mosque in Abuja to commemorate the day, Vice President Kashim Shettima acknowledged the sacrifices of the fallen soldiers who paid the supreme price to safeguard Nigeria's territorial integrity. Shettima, who acknowledged the sacrifices made by the armed forces and other security agencies, expressed optimism that under the leadership of President Bola Tinubu, Nigeria will witness enduring peace and prosperity in the coming days.
While still on security, Abia State Governor Dr. Alex Oti has backed the posting of police officers to serve in their home states, stating that it will boost national security as the officers are familiar with the nooks and crannies of their states. Oti, who spoke while receiving 31 newly commissioned officers of Abia State origin from the 7th regular course of the Nigerian Police Academy, commended the Inspector General of Police for the policy. He described the policy as noble and fantastic, arguing that if officers are posted far away, they will first contend with cultural differences and language barrier before settling into the new environment. In this case, however, Oti noted that the officers will already understand the language of the people they are policing, thereby giving them the policed lot of advantages. He restated the resolve of his administration to continue prioritizing security in the state, while urging the newly posted officers to remain focused, serve with integrity, and avoid unwholesome practices.
In the meantime, the chairman of Agatu local government area of Benue State, Melvin Ej, has ordered all herdsmen out of Agatu land in view of the worsening insecurity in the communities. He further revoked and declared null and void the 2017 pact granting the herders access to Adepati Island in Agatu for grazing. In a statement over the worsening situation, Ej lamented that Agatu was experiencing renewed insecurity following fresh violent attacks allegedly carried out by armed herders in several communities. According to him, the herders infiltrated the area after the recent military airstrikes in Sokoto State and the military operations neighboring locations. He stated that the fleeing attackers unleashed terror on innocent and defenseless residents, leaving a death, destruction, and fear across the country.
Meanwhile, the Director General of the National Orientation Agency, Lanre Issa Onilu, has urged Nigerians to unite against insecurity, calling for renewed patriotism and collective responsibility. In a message, he said, lasting peace depends on citizens' active participation, not government action alone. Issa Onilu also commended President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's security efforts and called on community leaders and youths to promote peace and national unity.
Away from that report, the chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, Professor Joash Amopiton, has reaffirmed the Commission's readiness to make the 2027 general elections Africa's reference point by organizing an election that is free, transparent, and beyond reproach. Amopiton noted in Lagos during INEC's induction and strategic retreat for its national commissioners, directors, and top management that over 200 million Nigerians and the entire continent are looking up to the commission. According to him, the work ahead is demanding and the hours will be long and the scrutiny intense. But the 2027 general election must be free and fair and be a watershed moment in Nigeria's history. Stating that the INEC management must even aim higher, Amopiton urged his team to build an institution that is globally recognized and ensure that under their watch, INEC became the best election management body in Africa, a beacon of integrity, a model of technological efficiency, and a fortress of democratic values.
Well, turning to other stories, the National Industrial Court of Nigeria, NICN, sitting in Abuja, has restrained the National Association of Resident Doctors, NARD, and its members from the industrial action planned to begin from the 12th of January. Justice Emmanuel Sobilim gave the order following an ex parte application filed the Attorney General of the Federation on behalf of the federal government. It listed NARD, its national president, Dr. Mohammed Suleiman, and the Secretary General of the association, Dr. Shuaibu Ibrahim, as defendants. Adjourned until January 21 for hearing, the court held that the restraining order would remain in force until the determination of the suit.
Still on healthcare, the Kaduna State government says it has sealed 20 legal colleges of health sciences and private hospitals across the state as part of ongoing efforts to ensure that private health institutions comply with established rules and regulations. Disclosing that the affected institutions are located in Chiko, Igabi, Kaduna North, and Kaduna South council areas. The Commissioner for Health, Umar Khatum Ahmed, explained that the move aimed to guarantee effective training of the state's healthcare workers and protect public health. She added that the action was meant to enforce guidelines for private health institutions and prevent unaccredited facilities from misleading the public under the guise of healthcare training, as well as stop the illegal production of unqualified health workers. The Commissioner urged the public to seek admission only in duly approved and accredited institutions to avoid wasting time and resources on unrecognized certificates.
And on politics, former vice presidential candidate of the Labour Party, Dati Baba Ahmed, has disowned claims that he recently declared intention to contest for the presidency, saying that he had been misinterpreted. Clarifying his position during a local television program, Baba Ahmed said he never declared to contest the presidency, but only reaffirmed his membership of the Labour Party amid growing political discussions about the party's future direction and that of his key figures. Though he admitted that possibilities may exist in the future, he stated that no announcement or decision has yet been made. He added that any declaration of interest will depend on the Independent National Electoral Commission's timetable and the party's internal processes.
We now move into Edo State, where some residents have expressed concerns over moves to impeach River State Governor Siminalayi Fubara and his deputy Ngozi Odu. Those who spoke with correspondent Rhoda Johnny warned that the action could undermine governance, fuel tension, and erode public confidence in democracy.
Tension continues to rise in Rivers State following moves by the State House of Assembly to commence impeachment proceedings against Governor Siminalayi Fubara and his deputy Ngozi Odu, a development that has now drawn reactions from Nigerians across the country. Aside the state, residents of Benin City who spoke on the issue expressed concern over the growing culture of political conflicts, warning that frequent impeachment battles distract leaders from governance and negatively affect public confidence in democracy. Some respondents said crises in any state of the federation have ripple effects on the entire country, especially when they involve key political actors.
Somebody just tried to play smart game to dominate the whole state. You understand? So that is already that is going on in River State now. Someone want to say, yes, I own River State. And somebody cannot own one state to ransom. That is what is happening in River State. We know the whole thing that is going on there is politically. I will know somebody that is behind it. You cannot hold River State to ransom. River State does not belong to one person.
The feud in River State is leadership. We can want to remain as a godfather on top of Fubara. Fubara said, no, you are doing your own, you want to go. But now, where is the presidency? Where is the judiciary in River State? Where is the federal judiciary? I think, where is the National Assembly? So, they refuse to obey the rule of law. In Nigeria, this is why you see all these crises here and there. If they uphold the rule of law and allow the judges to do the normal thing, allow the lawyers, the state council to do the normal thing, you see, we will see the light of the day in Nigeria. So the problem now is that Tinubu is supposed to err. He refused to err. Then I'll make an example. When Amechi was disturbing him, Osino Bajo was the vice president of Buhari. He went to the River State and he told Amechi should stay where you have done your own. Allow Wike to run his own administration. Amechi obeyed and bowed out. But now, tell me you are ruled as a governor. You are now a minister. Now, you always tell the Nigeria that you are a PDP man, that you only got an appointment from federal level. You understand that? Which means you are not a APC man. Now, why are you not controlling the APC member? When the governor, you call it the camp, joining the members of the House of Assembly. He's not the only one that started.
As the standoff continues, many Nigerians are calling on stakeholders to prioritize peace and stability in River State to avoid further tension and protect democratic institutions. Rhoda Johnny, VOP TV News.
Rhoda, thank you. Well, joining us virtually to analyze these stories is our public affairs analyst, and of course, he is a Chijoke Oji. Chijoke, it's so good to have you join us today.
Thank you. Good evening. Happy New Year.
Yes, it's true. Happy New Year. So much has happened since we last saw you, so we have a lot to talk about today. So the federal government really has unveiled a national platform that will debut during the 56th annual meeting of the World Economic Forum, slated for Davos from January 19 to the 23rd, of course, same month, really. Now, the Nigeria House is what is called. I don't know if this is a story that really interests you. That is if you're economically inclined, you know.
This is a complete white elephant project, a waste of funds, a misdirection, complete misdirection. This is like a situation where the house is on fire and the owner of the house, instead of chasing on how to eliminate the crisis that is bedeviling Nigeria today, which is poverty, which is economic dumping, we are showcasing how we can plunder resources. You see, I don't know how this whole mentality is going to really translate to we Nigerians are awakening to demanding what is right. These are not personal properties that you can adjudicate and manage as you wish once you are elected to any position, be it at the local or the state or the federal level. No. There must be some sort of agreements to weigh in, especially the profitability to the nation itself, before embarking on such wasteful of resources and times. People are talking about seriousness in today's world. The most that Nigeria can do at this point in time is thinking that, okay, launching a Nigerian house would give Nigeria the needed inflow of investments. I mean, come on, this is the least to expect from a thinking ministry or individuals that should be helping the president. It's either there is a complete misalignment of the present administration's agenda of the renewed hope or the change mantra. Because you cannot be said to be creating wealth and we're looking at how to plunder it. Of what economical value will this bring to Nigeria today? Nothing. You're saying this is the image thing. What has the image that is battered? A country being referred to as now a disgraced country. And instead of looking inwards on how we can rebuild our trust mantra, on rebuilding our what we have, on even on the individuality, what we continue to see is how state resources are being plundered, and to nobody answers query as to how this wastages takes place. It is completely a very unnecessary project, especially at this time, especially with what is happening economically. Nigeria should be thinking of ways to save for the future, because the over-reliance on the oil that we now see internationally, the political outlay, which may ground that same particular avenue of generating funds to becoming a wasted dream. What will happen to Nigeria tomorrow if, with the current budget it has set up for the 2026, is not realized with the crude sales? It's good that as a nation we're improving in terms of the output. But if you look at it today, there is becoming flooding of the market with the same crude. And if the major state buyers have become the bully internationally, who would we sell these crudes to? And if it falls, where would the funds for the so-called house, Nigerian house, be maintained from? We must look inward as a nation and stop this, misled projects that have no economical value, especially to the already overstretched nations, borrowings and wastages that we have continued to witness across board. It is very, very not necessary at this point in time for our dear nation.
Okay, let's move on to security. Of course, the Abia State Governor, Alex Oti, has actually applauded and backed the posting of police officers to serve in their home state. And he's saying that this would actually boost national security because those officers are familiar with the nooks and crannies of their state. Do you also align with this? Do you think that posting officers in their states would actually help in security and help us to fight insecurity as we have it at the moment?
Well, in a way, but it doesn't simply mean that it's a complete eradication or automatic gain overnight. The first key to securing a place is intelligence gathering, cooperation from the communities, that is the people being protected. Because without the cooperation of the people, it's almost impossible to achieve anything. And that is why defeating insurgency at the national level and all the other bedeviling, state-sponsored terrorism against its people has become difficult to, put to rest. Why? Because when you don't have the cooperation of the people, it's almost impossible to achieve that. But again, you must also look at it from two angles. It's just like what we're saying, creating of the state police, making people to serve from where they come from, thinking that will be the automatic end to all that. Well, I see there will be a lot of the advantages to it, but within it too, we still pose a greater threat to the state securities, because while Oti has raised his own valid concerns that because the people understand the language, it will be easy for them to simulate and be able to carry on the task without having to go through the process of learning a new language, understanding the terrain and all that. And for that same reason, it takes them a whole long time to acclimatize to the environment to be able to operate. But let us not forget that we're a multicultural state where people from all across boards, dwell in each state. So while you're policing, you're not only policing your own people, you're policing every entity that exists in that particular state. So if you're an individual who have never left your state, it will be difficult to call you an individual with exposure, which is very necessary for security, because you need to go to other places to see how the people look, to be able to observe how the environment and even how they live. Because the major concerns when it comes to security is understanding the terrains. In every state lies people of different backgrounds, different entities, and different communities. So how would we now be able to cater for other people if indeed all we are majorly concerned about is only the people within the states? For instance, now imagine a police officer from Lagos only hoping to meet people who already speak Yorubas. So what will happen to the outside the Igbo communities, the Bibios, and the other multi-cultural ethnicities that make up Nigeria? So, but it's good too that we're coming home to, to the realization that people can also serve in their states. Yes, it is good too. But we must also look at the fact that the multicultural policing system is one major way that will still keep our homes, our villages, our cities and states safer. Because we need people who have been exposed, who have gone to other terrains and seen the differences to be able to understand and how they can make a better policing within the states. But again, we do hope that this succeeds, because since the current administration has said that one of the promises it has made to Nigeria and is set to deliver is on the issue of state policing. But I still have the major issues with the states meeting up with funding of the state police and how well indeed it would now shape the entire state. Because while we're still talking about state policing or people serving within states, for instance, somebody who has never been to other local governments and has only been perhaps restricted to the state capital or to his own local government, how will he be able to dwell or do well when he's posted to other local government? Except we're saying that in the state police, only people who come from a particular local government will be made to serve in that particular local government. Then in that case, you can say that they will be more knowledgeable about the community and even know the people who are the perpetrators of crimes and be able to arrest the situation, if not parley. Because the major problem I see with the state police is that it may be difficult in most cases for the police to even do its jobs. If a policeman is known and his families are known, would it be possible for him to effectively make arrests in his own community, in a community where the criminals know his families? Wouldn't they go after his families? So there's a lot of things we need to look at when we are talking about the state policing thing. It goes beyond the immediate gains. We must also look at the futuristic issues that are likely to occur while we're setting up all of these things and hoping that it succeeds in the end. So it's a welcome development, but I don't think it's all advantages without no disadvantages.
What I hear you say, Chijoke, is that there are pros and there are cons.
That's right.
All right. Let's quickly take a trip to Benue State, right? This time, the chairman of Agatu local government area, Melvin Eje, has ordered all herdsmen out of Agatu land in view of the worsening insecurity in the communities. Now, if you take a closer look at this story, there was an agreement between the local government area, Agatu local government area, and herders. But it looks like this agreement has been revoked and they're chasing the herders out. What do you make of this? And do you foresee a reprisal?
Yes, I foresee a reprisal because this is very unfortunate. We must take these things, very, very, very seriously. It is something that's very sensitive. Because if we're saying that these people, except we're saying they are not part of Nigerians or they are not Nigerians, because it would trigger a lot of emotions and sentiments across other, ethnicities to say, okay, if you're driving this people away because you're saying that they don't have a right to dwell and to carry on their businesses there, then we can as well, there will be reprisals. And that's where the problem is. But you see, the question we should be asking is, why is it so difficult for the NSA office, which is headed by a Fulani man, and the current administration, which is at the center peak of the vice president, also a Fulani or a Kanuri man? And all of these things are happening, and we're talking about people perpetrating these crimes with arms in a state across the entire nation where it is illegal to acquire and possess or be in possession of firearms. How come that these individuals who have been perpetrating these crimes have been allowed to acquire such sophisticated weapons, and just in recent time, certain individuals were arrested by the military based on videos that were circulating on the social media, were said to have brandished weapons licensed by the office of the NSA. How come Nigerians are not calling on the NSA office to explain to Nigerians why there is a selective justice system where certain individuals are allowed to acquire highly sophisticated, unlicensable guns to civilians in Nigeria? Because I'm aware that the most that is licensed is pump actions. So how come today certain individuals can acquire these things, which has been the means to perpetrating these crimes? Because assuming these individuals have Should be that they'll be perpetuating this with the cattle? That would have been the humble question to ask. I think the government has been playing the ostrich game. It's either this is a deliberate sponsored terrorism against people of certain areas, or that the government is not ready to address the situation, or there is certain level of gains with the continued bloodbaths. Those are the only things to explain these continuous scenarios that have continued to play out, where indeed it has become unimaginable to think of the fact that a nation as multicultural centered like Nigeria cannot come together to disarm these criminal elements and even understand where are the sources of these people coming from if they are not Nigerians. But if they are Nigerians and are said to be Fulani origins, how come Atiku Abubakar, the Malamis of this world and co, are not coming out, and the Bala Ahmed and the other prominent Fulani individuals are not coming out to make a comment about this thing, especially with showcasing to Nigerians to defend indeed that it is not the headers, but there are certain criminal elements either sponsored by the states or private individuals to use this particular set of people whom have not been found guilty by any court of law in Nigeria to be said to have been perpetrating this. All the news we've been hearing is Fulanis, Fulanis. And then since 2019, I have been saying one clear word. The easiest way to kill a dog is to brand it a bad name. Growing up, I have never seen or known a Fulani man to be violent. If not that today's world, that we now see people who look alike, who dress alike, who are actually said to be representing the Fulani people, because the Fulani people have not come out to not their brothers and their sisters. Because that is why it is making it so difficult to understand why we cannot coexist peacefully in a community, in a state, in a country that is so amply big enough, endowed with all that we need as a people to be able to coexist peacefully. So this is a very disturbing development. If the chairman can go ahead to give such pronunciations, it's like banishing people from a land. Yes, we know there are origins of the lands who have a first-class right to the particular land, but as every Nigerian, they also have a right to coexist. What we should be clamoring for is that if the state government and the federal government are not willing to disarm this individual, then everybody should go out and search for their own arms. Perhaps if we have more people that are licensed or who have possession of arms, maybe they will be able to defend themselves. Because we can no longer. It is not well. What we're seeing today is a clear massacre of individuals that have been, unaccountable by several administrations that have come with promises, including the Jonathan administration. And every one of them have continued to lay claims to one another without there being any. In fact, as a matter of fact, these individuals should be in court defending, as reasons why people who were murdered under their care, because these people were murdered under their care. They are accountable. What is a shame? Everybody's working freely, like it's like no man's business. So I feel for the people of Benue State. I also feel for the people of the race of Fulanis, who we don't know truly if they are indeed the ones that are victims of all this, or these are individuals from other countries who have come easily to burn and to maim and destroy, because nobody will set up their own home on fire. It is only a visitor who has nothing to lose that will set it up on fire. So the first things that the Nigerian government, both the current administration and the previous administration, have failed to take advices from Nigerians on how to nip this in bud if truly there was any form of sincerity. Because at least some of us have made efforts to even work with the government on voluntarism.
Okay.
On voluntarism, on how to bring about end to all of these issues we're having today.
Okay, one of the things the chairman said, he actually attributed his action to renewed insecurity of following fresh violent attacks that were carried out by these herders. And he's also alleging that this was actually infiltrated, that these herders infiltrated the area after the recent military airstrikes in Sokoto and, of course, military operations in other regions. So I want to ask you, do you actually think that these airstrikes in Sokoto State, did it do more harm than good? Because so many attacks are happening in some parts of the country. So persons are actually attributing those attacks to people who are fleeing from that airstrike. So would you say the airstrike did more harm than good?
The airstrike, Nigerian government is yet to come out to really comment and even tell Nigerians what really happened. The truth of the matter is that the information that are out there showcases that Nigerian government is completely unaware what the American government has done in Nigeria. Because to date, the Nigerian government has not been able to present bodies of individuals claimed to have been, killed in these attacks by the American government. In fact, it is believed that it was a complete, misdirection. It was actually a way to misdirect the Nigerian people or the Nigerian government while they carried on the real activities that were perpetrated in Nigeria. Yes, there could be a stream of the fact that there's confusion among this set of state-sponsored terrorists, because once there has been, certain invasions in several camps and they are not sure of where to settle in, yes, they will definitely move out, just like we'll have when you have ant hills and it's disrupted. They will move in different directions. But the problem we should be asking ourselves is, why is it that it's so difficult to internally protect the Nigerian system states? In a state where we have the sitting IG and the CP of the states, and all of this is happening, and in fact, what would have left the whole local government chairman to declare so is that he has gotten to a point where he's now helpless. If the CP of the state, who should be custodian of the state in terms of security, is not able to arrest the situation or able to protect the lives, and then the IG have not been able to give any assurances or even showcase any form of guarantee of lives and properties, then the individuals will resort to serve up, which is allowed to think, okay, that the only way to perhaps get guaranteed safety is to send the people away because they feel they're no longer safer with the people's presence there. But all I can tell is that I think there's a mass failure in governance, cutting across from his head to the tail. Because if the state governor, till date, has not been able to understand these whole situations that is going on with the state after 3 years of being in power, and then is still expecting a miracle to happen with the IG who is in Abuja flying on private jet and helicopters to address the situation, with the CP who in most cases is like a toothless bulldog, because in most cases they take dictations from Abuja. So they can't do anything, and in most cases they're overwhelmed because they don't have equipment. They always cry on to the military. The same military are also overwhelmed because we can see how they have continued to lose personnel, and at the end of the day, nobody has been able to showcase to Nigerians how indeed this whole problem will end, especially with the people at the top. If the people at the lower level are now creating this chaos of saying because the militants have been dislodged or there's unrest in their camps and they're looking for everywhere or taking their revenges, then it's such a very valuable situation, because it's a pity that innocent lives should be lost and not the people who should be the ones being held accountable. So it's a pity, and I'm hoping and praying that 2026 is going to be a different year.
Chijoke, I understand I have just 2 minutes with you, and I really want to ask, there's something you said that the Nigerian government had no idea what the US came to do. To lend credence to what you just said, the military not too long ago came out to ask residents of the state, Sokoto State, to bring back explosives that they had picked from the area where the US hit. Now, people are asking, how is that even possible that the citizens or civilians had access to this particular area before the military did? Normally, I know you are very, you know these things. Is that kind of area not supposed to be cordoned off, like off limits to civilians? Just 1 minute as we wrap up this particular one.
It just goes to show that Nigeria have been paying the wrong people in power for services that are misled. The Minister of Foreign Affairs, Tuga, came out to tell the rest of the world that it was the Nigerian military or the Nigerian defense ministry that sought the intelligence and collaborated with the US. If you gathered the intelligence, then you should be able to have the entire environment couldn't and be able to be under your control. So for that particular incident of even coming out to plead for this, it shows the weakness of the Nigerian military and the decapitation of the entire intelligence. Because what we have shown is that the mouthpiece firing from abroad, because most of the time we have seen the minister is never in the country, and we've seen also that there's a lack of collaboration with the people at home, which shows that everything is completely in disarray. And as we speak now, it will be better for the Nigerian people to understand that if we don't hold these people to account, they will continue to maroonly loot the funds, destroy the entire peace we have as a nation, and at the end of the day, it's a pity that they cannot operate this continued situation of even trying to be honest to Nigerians. And let us know where the situation is going wrong, where people can honestly collaborate. Not a situation where they're making a false claim of collaboration, and the US have continued to laugh at us because they know that while they did those diversionaries, they took the attention of Nigerians to elsewhere while they did and carried out the intelligence gatherings that they had done and executed. And Trump has said he's coming out to do more. So as we speak, it is more or less apprehensions across the ministries because they don't know what they will say that the US already doesn't know. So it's a pity. And I feel that at the point we should even be getting apologies from the Ministry of Defense, especially with the Chief of Army Staff, who are the people we said to be protecting the integrity of the entire nation. I mean, if our own environment has been violated and we still don't have a direction as to what happened, then there's a bigger problem ahead. I just pray that this administration, and let us be fully in control, because you cannot govern a nation in this manner. It is gone too far, and these killings must stop. Whether it is Christians or Muslims or pagans or any form, Nigerians must be allowed to coexist and live anywhere. Most troubling is that this continued violation of people's rights and destruction of properties is limiting us as a Nigerian to sources of food.
Okay.
Because only a little time we begin to see these things translate in real life. So I pray that in 2026 is a complete different year for Nigerians.
Amen. Amen. We join you to say amen. Thank you. Thank you very much, Chijioke, for your analysis. Intelligent as always. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Yes. We've been speaking with Chijioke Oji, who is a management expert and a public affairs analyst. You're still watching the news hour on Voice of the People television. When we return, Dangote petitions EFCC will bring you that story and more stories after the break. To stay with us.
Welcome back, everyone. Now, the federal government has unveiled new measures to eliminate examination malpractice in WAEC and NECO examinations from 2026. The Minister of Education, Tunji Alausa, alongside the Minister of State for Education, Professor Ahmed, said the reforms are aimed at strengthening credibility, transparency, and public confidence in Nigeria's examination system. However, stakeholders say effective implementation will determine the success of the policy, urging strict monitoring and enforcement at all examination centers. VOPTV's Matthew Ogunswada has more in this report.
The federal government has announced new measures to eliminate examination malpractice in WAEC and NECO examinations from 2026 and beyond. The Minister of Education, Dr. Maruf Tunji Alausa, alongside Minister of State for Education, Professor Suweiba Said Ahmad, said the reforms are aimed at strengthening credibility, transparency, and public confidence in Nigeria's examination system. Key among the measures is enhanced question randomization and serialization. Although candidates will answer the same questions, the arrangement will differ for each student reducing chances of cheating and collusion. Meanwhile, Voice of the People TV spoke with stakeholders who shared their thoughts, as the federal government says the measure are part of sustained efforts to protect the integrity of national examinations.
Some of the things have actually been in place. It's maybe not publicly documented or dead as they are trying to do now. But then, if now is the time to drive it and reinforce it, so be it. I think it's laudable because you would educate the academic levels over the years. We have seen it go up, go down, and at some time it's just at the level where you don't know whether it is up there or down there.
Academic integrity and honesty should become what we noise on the loudspeakers everywhere, and it should start from leadership as well. We should show that honesty pays, So students and parents basically need to understand that you are preparing yourself for a future that you want to be proud of. If you are not prepared, the future will test that lack of preparation, and then the embarrassment you will face might be. That's why we have quacks, we have doctors, we have lawyers, we have all who are trying to cut corners because they didn't go to the rudiments and the solid foundation of the discipline. So all of those things are critical. You want to build a future that can stand the test of time. It's not by cutting corners or by engaging in sharp practices that you will get there. Read your book, sit down with your book.
As this new law is set to reshape the future of public examination in Nigeria, stakeholders say its success will depend on effective implementation and strict enforcement across all examination centers. Matthew Ogunswada, reporting for Voice of the People Television.
Thank you very much, Matthew. The chairman of Dangote Industries Limited, Aliko Dangote, has filed a formal corruption petition against the former managing director of the Midstream Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority, NMDPRA, Farouk Ahmed, at the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, in Abuja. This follows his withdrawal of the same petition from the Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission, ICPC, to accelerate prosecution. In the petition, Dangote urged the EFCC to investigate the allegations of abuse of office and corrupt enrichment against Ahmed and prosecute him if found culpable. He further undertook to provide evidence to substantiate claims of financial misconduct and impunity.
Well, in another development, the Lagos Zonal Directorate 2 of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, has arraigned an Austrian Kavlak Onel for allegedly failing to declare large sums of foreign currency while attempting to travel out of Nigeria. Onel was arraigned before Justice Yelim Bogoro of the Federal High Court sitting in Ikoyi for failing to declare the $800,575 and €651,505 found with him, as required by law. He was scheduled to board an Emirates airline flight to Dubai, but was intercepted on the 16th of December 2025 during a routine check at the Anti-Money Laundering and Currency Declaration Desk of the Murtala Mohammed International Airport, Lagos. The EFCC said it will continue its investigation and prosecution in line with Nigeria's anti-money laundering regulations.
We now move on to the foreign sins. For foreign sin, Pope Leo XV, has warned world leaders that war is back in vogue and the zeal for war is spreading, highlighting what he described as ambition of belligerents. In the New Year message to diplomats at the Vatican, his first since becoming head of the Catholic Church last May, Leo lamented the weakness of multilateralism, saying the dialogue was being replaced by diplomacy based on force by either individuals or groups of allies. Though he did not name his own country, the United States, he described the rising tensions in the Caribbean and Pacific as cause for serious concern, particularly in Venezuela, where U.S. forces recently seized the president. Leo further appealed for respect for the will of the Venezuelan people and to safeguard the human and civil rights of all, warning that the principle established after the Second World War, by which countries cannot use force to to violate the borders of others has been completely undermined.
Meanwhile, Russian flag worship has pulled into False Bay of South Africa's main naval base to join Chinese and Iranian vessels in military exercises that risk further damaging Pretoria's relations with Washington. The exercises draw together several nations feuding with the United States administration and come at a time of heightened tensions following a Washington's raid on Venezuela. A Chinese destroyer and replenishment ship and an Iranian forward base ship sailed into South African waters earlier this week ahead of the week-long maneuvers due to kick off with an opening ceremony on Saturday. China is the lead nation in the Wheel for Peace 2026 drill involving navies from 11-nation BRICS group of emerging nations, which U.S. President Donald Trump has labeled as anti-American. The United Arab Emirates was also expected to send ships, while other BRICS nations, including Indonesia, Ethiopia, and Brazil, will send observers.
We now move on to business. The federal government has directed all shipping companies and airlines operating in Nigeria to submit their cargo manifest through the National Single Window NSW platform to strengthen cargo tracking, improve transparency, and enhance trade facilitation. The Ministry of Finance memo directed them to integrate their operations with the NSW platform to ensure seamless submission of sea and air manifest as it ends exclusive submission of cargo processing and port clearance manifest by the Nigeria Customs Service. However, the Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy, Wale Edo, explained that the NSW project was designed to enhance trade facilitation, increase government revenue, and improve operational efficiency. This explained is by integrating the activities of multiple government agencies involved in trade processes on a single digital platform. According to him, this is to ensure faster clearance of goods, reduce bureaucratic bottlenecks, and improved service delivery at the port. The memo explained that key components of the platform include a single entry point and single submission of trade documentation.
Well, in sports news, authorities at the Ahmadu Bello University ABU Zaria say the institution has received provisional right to host the 28th edition of the Nigerian University Games Association NUGA in 2028. The Director of Public Affairs at ABU, Awalu Umaru, said the hosting right was conveyed to the institution in a letter from the Acting Secretary General of NUGA, Yunusa Baza, on behalf of the NUGA Council. Umar disclosed the approval was subject to the signing of a memorandum of agreement before specific dates of the games will be announced. He explained that with the hosting rights, ABU is now empowered to engage federal and state governments as well as private sector partners to mobilize resources and investments required for the successful organization of the games. Meanwhile, the Vice Chancellor, Professor Adamu Ahmed, said the development aligns with national policy on grooming future athletes through the university system.
Still in sports, in the English Premiership, Ghana international Antoine Semenyo says he wants to rewrite history again at Manchester City after joining from Bournemouth for a reported £65 million. 26-year-old, who has scored 10 Premier League goals this season, signed a 5.5-year deal at the Etihad and will be a major addition to the attacking Arsenal. Liverpool, Manchester United and Tottenham were also interested in the London-born player who had a buyout clause understood to expire on Saturday. The widely trailed transfer is the first major move by Premier League clubs in the January window. Semenyo said he has watched City over the last decade under Pep Guardiola, adding that they have been the dominant team in the Premier League, as well as achieving amazing things in the Champions League, FA Cup and League Cup. The winger said he wants to be part of City's rebuild after a barren season last year and the departure of a number of senior players.
And in entertainment news, President of the All Africa Music Awards, AFRIMA, Mike Dada, says the platform was designed to go beyond the music awards by fostering unity collaboration, and positive narratives about Africa. Dada spoke in Lagos at the exclusive welcome evening party marking the official opening of the Afrima Week with prominent African celebrities, Afrima nominees, industry leaders, global partners, and creatives, as well as diplomats gathered for an evening of cultural exchange, networking, and celebration of African music. Dada restated Afrima's continued commitment to telling Africa's authentic stories through music, while positioning the continent as a competitive force in the global creative economy. According to him, music is one of Africa's most powerful means of expression and identity. And through Afrima, the body is building bridges between nations, changing perceptions and creating opportunities for African talents and professionals. Dada noted that beyond celebration, Afrima serves as a strategic platform for cultural diplomacy, economic empowerment, and global engagement for the African creative industry.
And that's it on News Hour. Before we go, a quick look at the headlines. We told you that Nigeria unveils house and Davos ahead WEF 2026.
Also, federal government cuts trade ministry's budget by 22.92% amid investment gains.
Federal government restates reserve to empower military over national crisis.
And OT urges officers serving in home states to boost security.
INEC insists on rewriting history with free, fair elections.
And court stops resident doctors' planned strike.
On the foreign scenes, Pope Leo wants conflict mongers returning war to vogue.
While in business news, shipping firms and airlines to submit manifest via national window.
In sports, Abu gets provisional rights for 2028 Nuga hosting.
Well, in entertainment news, Afrima president lists focus as welcome evening party hosts in Lagos.
Do well to subscribe to our YouTube channel. On YouTube, we are Voice of the People Television, and on other social media platforms, we are at VOP TV Live. If you witness news happening near you, we want to hear from you. Send your eyewitness reports, event coverage requests, photos, or videos directly via WhatsApp on 0814 606 4057. Can also reach a newsroom by email at news@vop.ng. I am Nenna Ndomdioto.
And I am Vivian Uguche. Thank you for watching.
VOP TV. Now, you have more than a voice.
We encourage you to click on the like button and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We are Voice of the People TV. Also follow us on all our social media platforms. We are at VOP TV Live. Visit our website www.vop.ng for fresh and trending news. Also watch us live on SLTV channel 264. VOP TV, Voice of the People Television.
Behind every broken desk lies a broken promise. Education shapes the nations, but who is asking the right questions? Introducing Edu Dialogue, the show that goes beyond the surface, exposes the cracks, the corruption, and the silence in Nigeria's education system. Edu Dialogue, Saturdays, 3 p.m., only on VOP TV. We break the biggest stories, from missing funds to policy failures. We ask the tough questions and demand real answers. Edu Dialogue, this Saturday, 3 p.m. on Voice of the People Television.
In a world where truth is the ultimate power and opinions scream the loudest, it's time to wade through the noise.
Hunger no get tribe! Hunger no get religion!
And scan the human interest and trending topics that matter. Stay tuned to The Issues, your plug to the stories making the buzz, from politics to science and technology, social justice, and more. Let's tackle the tough questions and expose the truth. The Issues on Voice of the People Television, Mondays to Fridays, 8 to 9 p.m. The Issues. Don't just react. Understand.
This is Health Check, your weekly guide to better living, smarter choices, and trusted answers. From everyday wellness to urgent health issues, we've got you covered. Health Check, only on Voice of the People Television, where your health has a voice.
Africa is on the move, a continent of rising voices, untold stories, and powerful transformations. From the streets of Lagos to the heart of Nairobi, from the mines of Congo to the tech labs of Cape Town, the African story is being written every day. Bold, dynamic, unstoppable. This is African News on Voice of the People Television. We don't just bring you the news. We analyze and bring you Africa's heartbeat, the politics that shapes our nations, the economies that drives our future, the cultures that defines who we are, the voice that must be heard. Africa News, Africa's voice, Africa's future. Where Africa speaks, the world listens.
For the extraordinary. Something big is happening on your screen. Introducing VOP TV. Now streaming on SLTV channel 264. From breaking news to captivating conversations, news analysis, giving you all sides to the story. We break in-depth discussions on the issues that matter, from politics to sports, entertainment, and lifestyle. VOP TV on SLTV channel 264. Join us as we redefine what television means to you. Voice of the People Television, VOP TV. Now you have more than a voice.
It's a beautiful Friday morning, and we'll say good morning and welcome to VOP this morning. Now, this is the morning show. It rained in some parts of Lagos last night, and the weather is very clement. But that's a good omen, if you ask me, and it tells me that this year, the early year rain, it tells me clearly that this year will be a very good year for Nigeria. I tap into that prophecy, and I hope that a lot of people will tap into that prophecy. Well, in the next 1 or 2 hours, in the next 2 hours, to be very clear, we will be discussing very topical political issues here in Nigeria. Recent developments, some of them will make you angry, some of them will make you happy. So you come along with us as we take you through these interesting stories. Now we'll go to Rivers State, where the Assembly has moved to impeach Sim Fubara, the governor, and his deputy, Ngozi Odu. And when we move away from that, Peter Obi and NLC sound alarm as 140 million Nigerians face poverty by December 2026. Now, that's coming from PwC, Price Waterhouse and Coopers. They have predicted that in fact, as a matter of fact, over 141 million Nigerians will face acute poverty by 2026 December if something that is very urgent is not done. And ADC launches constitutional review as APC clashes with Articles Democracy's future. Oh, well, those are the major topics of discussion, but we also have other interesting trending stories that we are going to talk about. I am Chukuma Okoro, by the way. Once again, good morning and thanks for joining us.
Yes, thank you very much for joining us and welcome to the program. I am Moses Humphrey. Now, talking about early rains, I asked myself, did the rains ever stop? We didn't have the Harmattan season. On Boxing Day, it rained.
But at least this year, we always try to make a division between what happened in 2025 and what happened in the year 2026.
Has it drizzled this year? I think it has. Drizzled.
No, but it drizzled, not rain. Now, the one of last night was heavy. It was heavy rain.
Okay.
And on work, on our way to work this morning, one of my colleagues was like, looks like this climate change is real. I said, climate change is real.
Very real.
Growing up, we used to have Harmattan by early November. And the wind, I think they say
it goes all the way to...
It goes all the way up until middle of January.
Yes.
But all of a sudden, it started receding until it clearly disappeared. Last year, clearly there was no Harmattan. I didn't experience it. I woke up one morning and it became very hazy. And I said, Harmattan has come in, but it fizzled out. Completely. So climate change is real. And I said, so when people gather in Rio de Janeiro, when people gather in Stockholm and discuss climate change, you thought it was talk show or what? It wasn't. It's real.
But the issues around climate change, I don't think, because when you talk about machinery working, emission of gases and all these things depleting the ozone layer, we don't do so much of those machinery work down Africa. It's over there in the Western world, they do a lot more.
Yeah, the people that do more are trying to control Africa, and Africa is asking, how? You are the people that caused this problem now. And recall at a point, Trump said there was nothing like climate change. Because China, you cannot be putting out all of those things, and you are saying America should slow down. No, we are not going to slow down. At a point, he pulled America from one of those summits, I recall. So it's real. Whatever it is, they say it's ozone layer depletion. Now, when I look up, I don't even see the...
You don't see the ozone. It's just there.
It's just there.
Oh, well. Now, let's get into some of the conversations. The Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission has revealed that Benin Republic, Togo, and Niger collectively owe Nigeria $11.57 million. That's over 25 billion naira for electricity supplied under bilateral agreements in the third quarter of 2025. And according to NERC's market report, these three countries were billed $18.69 million, but were only able to remit $7.12 million, leaving a huge deficit that adds to legacy debts from previous quarters. Now, the debt owed to Nigeria's generation companies has sparked outrage among Nigerians who question why Nigeria continues to export electricity despite its own crippling domestic shortages and frequent blackouts and its inability to serve Nigerians. We're talking about our inability to generate enough for our transmitting stations to carry to the discos to distribute, and we are selling to neighbors, and they are even owing. And then government itself in Nigeria is owing the electricity companies, but the ordinary Nigerian who has nobody to fight for him is the one whose meters or whatever will be cut off, especially those in areas where they don't have prepaid meters, because a lot of people still don't have prepaid meters. I still see disco officials going around with ladders in some densely populated areas. I don't want to mention names now, but some densely populated areas, you see them carrying ladders, and you see them put the ladders on the pole, and people gather around, tip them a few, maybe 2,000 here, 3,000 there. They make trouble, make noise, they go, because you can't confront them. it's against the law. You try to get physical with them, you get into trouble. So they go, and then a week or 2 weeks later, they come back, but the money is being owed are still there. Now, individuals are owing, the government is owing, but the ordinary Nigerian is the one who's paying for it, who's taking the blow. It's unfortunate. It's unfortunate. Now, I understand that yes, we should sell, we should export, but when we're doing it under bilateral trade or whatever the case may be, we should be getting the monies back. And those monies should be put back into ensuring that the Nigerian person enjoys. I mean, there's nothing the ordinary man benefits really. I mean, some of the things you pay for, some of the things that you should be enjoying, you're not even enjoying them. It's horrible.
Very horrible. But well, we have always been told that our analysts tell us that Nigeria is an unusual place, and it plays out in everything around every sector of our national life. Well, life itself is very unfair, so the only thing you have to do is to make it fair for yourself anyhow you can. The only way to predict the future is to determine it today. Now, talk about our neighbors owing us the electricity, power generation bills and all of that. They have even paid. I understand that the total debt exposure is about $18 million, and they have paid $7 million with an outstanding of 11-point-something million. We also have a government that are owing. Air Force here was owing $4 billion.
Indeed,
and
yes.
They have not paid.
Well,
they have not even paid like $1 billion. They have not even paid $500
and you
million.
go to request for the money, and they threaten you.
No. Not just threaten you, beat you up.
I don't want to say that.
Okay, now I've said that. They beat you up because it happened. It's on record. And we also have the federal government establishments owing.
Even Nassau Rock is owing.
Even Nassau Rock is owing.
And Nassau Rock decided to put
solar, with over 10 billion naira.
10 billion naira,
for the solar to power the Aso Villa. So the moment you have light, the rest of you, can go to hell. Like they used to say, the West and the rest of us. Now it's Nassau Rock and the rest of us.
The rest of us.
So that is how Nigeria rolls. That is how Nigeria runs. But I don't have a problem that we give power, that we export power to our neighbors. As a matter of fact,